leadership move, I think, especially with the young guns in that lineup. But hopefully, smacks Cutter Gauthier around a little bit and teaches that kid some respect.
Um, yeah, you bring up the who are veterans, but the goal with those was not to come and perform and get these guys to win a cup, but to help the young guys get better, hopefully a little bit faster. Like as you just said, help some of the young guys grow in their maturity. And the one but another thing to think about is, there's been all that trade talks with Trevor Zegras, and we don't know if there's any truth to them, but they're mostly just
Lots of
rumors.
rumors. Yeah.
Lots of rumors, but I get they feel true. I mean, Zegras is he's he's a pretty vocal guy. He's got a big personality. I can see him potentially wanting out, and I know he's injured, but part of me, and it's all speculation, but part of me wonders like how much is it injury and how much is it not wanting to play.
You think he's feigning injury? Is that what you're saying?
Potentially. It would be
Hmm.
like I said, I have the only thing I have to back that up is just pure speculation
Of
based
course.
off his personality.
It's not like they're trying to make the playoffs and they're making an LTIR move.
Right. Right, that's right. They're not saving him for the playoffs. They're not gonna make it.
I do have a little bit of breaking news if we want to talk about it real quick. Um, Florida's William Lockhart been suspended for 3 games for goalie interference
3.
on
Oof.
Marc
Three.
Andre Fleury.
Yeah, he ran into I didn't watch the game, but I saw the highlights and he ran into him pretty hard. The side I've seen from Panthers fans is that Fleury was going to
Five
play the
other
puck.
ones.
Yeah, the 5 other ones what they said is, that the fact that Fleury was going to play the puck, he should be treated like any other player, but
He
that's
was
just
out of the
not how.
crease.
Yeah, he was going to play
Hmm.
the puck, behind the net. So a lot of people say, like, once a goalie does that, you're fair game. But I don't think the NHL feels that way,
No,
obviously,
they
with 3 game
don't.
suspension. And if it happened to, if it happened to Bobrovsky, the Panthers fans would be, "He should be suspended." So,
Hmm.
I don't I 3 I would say 2 games probably would have been better, but it is what it is. William Lockwood is a 4th liner. We can bring a guy up, take his place, it'll be fine. Steven Lorentz will probably get a few more games.
Has anyone seen
Not
that
gonna
hit? Because I haven't. Aside from Brett, Cass, have you seen it?
No, I'm trying to find it right now. I'm finding the fight, but I'm not really
just do
finding anything.
Lockwood, Flurry.
That's what I did. But
If he's
was it
out of the
more of
net
like
and
a Lucic on Ryan Miller kind of hit, or was it like did he skate out to the dots, or was he behind the net?
Well, he was just going to play the puck pretty much and then kinda ran him over.
if he's out of the net like that, I mean, I can understand suspending him for a little bit. 3 games I feel might be a little bit too much for that. I don't know if he has any suspension history. They may have taken that into consideration if he does, but I feel like that's a little over the top for a guy who made a hit on a goalie who was out of the crease. He wasn't even in the blue paint.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. The clip I found it kind of cuts right at impact, but it kind of looks like um it was an
Did he
act
truck
job there,
him?
like Shesterkin act job. No, it looks like he caught him a little bit, but I
Greatest
mean,
actor in the league.
it doesn't look like it was anything to warrant 3 games. You know, but there
Well,
we
It
go.
is
that's
what it is. The NHL's like, they've been this way with the suspensions all year. I think they're well, I was about to say they've been consistent, but
No, they haven't.
we all know they haven't, Brett. Come on.
it feels like I feel like with suspensions, there's been every time we feel like it's not been the right number, right? Or some people should have been suspended. I know Nick Cousins been talked a lot about this season by more popular like on Spin Chicklets. I mean, Bissonnette got really mad
They
at
went
him
in on
saying,
him on that
"Yeah,
podcast. Mm-hmm.
yes." Um, and so, and I think Cousins could have deserved a suspension for some of the stuff he did. If you say he doesn't, that's just pure bias. But yeah, it's been an interesting year for the suspensions. A 3 I don't think is justified, um, but
He
it is
doesn't
what
even
it
have a
is.
prior history either. You know, it's not like he's a repeat
No, this guy,
offender. He's
he's a
played a
rookie.
handful of NHL games, so it's shocking.
This is his first season in the league. He's been kind of a minor league dude, so like we won't
Sent you
miss
the
him per
link to
se.
the hit if you wanna see it.
Say that again.
She sent a link.
Sent you guys the link to the hit if you wanna see it.
Sure.
Yeah, we're taking a look at the link now.
All the way down, Fleury out of his net. Lockwood flying in against
Oh, that's come on.
Well, now I
That's weak. That's a weak hit. That's a weak suspension for the NHL D ops. I mean, how could they go ahead and suspend this guy who has no prior history for 3 games for a hit like that? That is just such a weak call, man.
It's
Weird
just
how
'cause
it
it's a
cuts out,
goalie.
too, at the contact. It's weird.
It's just
Right
because
when he
it's a
makes
goalie.
contact. I know.
It's
I know.
Marc-Andre Fleury, you know.
I understand that, and I get that he's a big name, but he came out of the blue paint, he came out of his crease, and he took a weak hit. It didn't even look like he trucked him or anything like that. That's malarkey. That is a stupid call.
Does that change your opinion on the Aaron Dell throwing the elbow or shoulder in the kid when he was coming around the net a couple years ago?
No, that was a good one. I liked that one. Speaking of goalies, moving on, the
Oh yeah.
Carolina Hurricanes goalie Pyotr Kochetkov. I'm probably sure I
Amanda
butchered
will
that.
definitely correct you if you
Yeah,
did.
please let me know. There's an O in there
You're
for no
great.
reason. I don't know why. He
Amanda
was
says you
placed-
nailed it, Jesse.
Ooh, thanks. He was placed on injured reserve Friday for a concussion. He exited a game against the Anaheim Ducks in the second period on the 11th of January. He was ran into after making a save, and there was clear head contact. He was put in concussion protocol and out indefinitely as of the 12th of January. The Hurricanes then claimed Spencer Martin off waivers from Columbus. And I don't know, he hasn't played a game yet, Amanda, has he?
No, he hasn't. He just arrived to practice today. Like, today was his first practice in with the team.
Who is the other goalie for Carolina besides Spencer Martin now? Ronta, right? It's just Martin and Ronta.
Yep.
They've been doing pretty well despite the goaltending issues, though. Later in this episode, we're going to talk about power rankings, and so I was looking at like last 10 games and all that stuff, and Hurricanes have been doing well, which I mean, despite all the goaltending issues, which it seems like that's just a Hurricanes thing now. Like it's ever since Cam Ward, just kind of been rotating goaltenders in and out there.
Unfortunately, that's the one piece that our GM Don Waddell just can't seem to figure out, and like really collects defensemen like no one else, and then goalies were like scraping by through the years.
Even bringing back defensemen that have been problematic for other teams. As we've mentioned in the past, Anthony DeAngelo, our boy.
He's not even playing. Like, he is like a pretty much consistent healthy scratch for the Canes.
Yikes.
Is he playing that poorly?
Like, poorly? Yes, comparatively to everyone else. Again, the copious amount of defensemen that the Canes have available.
They could just rotate him
So,
in and out then.
Exactly.
With Tony DeAngelo, he had problems both in Philly and New York, right?
Mostly New York. I don't really think there were much issues in Philly, were there?
I don't
Really,
know,
the only issues in
gonna
Philly
dump
were
him.
that he wasn't producing, and Tortorella like went on record saying that like he expected way more from Tony DeAngelo. Like, that was really the big issue
Okay, because
there.
I was curious. Like, we all know Philadelphia fans are usually trash, and New York has its own reputation. He's getting along with everyone in Carolina. It's kind of
That we know of.
weird.
Are you saying
Yeah.
it's the fans' fault? Are you saying it's the fans' fault?
Maybe one or two.
I don't know any New York Rangers fans that have been a problem over the last 10 years. Come on.
I mean,
And not a one.
Not a one.
Definitely not.
So Spencer Martin was from Columbus, right?
Yes.
Yeah. There was. We'll talk about this later, but that is not the Columbus goal I would have expected to be heading to Carolina. if they were going to get
You
one.
and all the other Canes fans.
Well, they picked him up off waivers. There wasn't a trade on
They
that,
did.
so
They did. They just
Didn't
thought,
have to
hey,
lose
this
any
guy's
capital.
available. Let's grab him.
right.
I
And
don't know,
he
it's
has,
weird.
Give up. Don't have to give up future considerations. The star of all trades.
and he has
Yes, they
pretty.
pick
weird.
him up, but it doesn't feel like it's fixing the problem. It feels like you're slapping a Band-Aid.
A
Exactly.
very
wide
flimsy
open
Band-Aid.
wound.
It's like
Reminds me of
it's like a
Mrazek.
Band-Aid you found like already used, and you're gonna like, I guess this will have to do. I can't.
That's
find a
disgusting,
new
Brett.
Band-Aid.
That's absolutely disgusting. Spencer Martin's numbers are on par for Carolina Hurricanes goaltenders too. He's played 13 games, 3 wins, 3.65 goals against average, .887 save percentage. So he's already, one of the better Carolina Hurricanes goaltenders this year.
So
Oh,
quick
boy.
point. He
Playing
is playing
great.
in front of a kind of a crappier defense, but like he reminds me of Peter Mrazek, where he can kind of keep the team in a game. But he's not going to win you the game. You know what I'm saying? Like he'll keep you in the game for a period and a half, and then all of a sudden it'll just be like,
Yeah.
oh, there's a leaky one. Oh, there's a
You're-
leaky one. Like he played.
You're-
Yeah, I think he was in net when the Bruins played the Blue Jackets, and it was like, gosh darn it, we can't get a goal. We can't get a goal, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, there's 4 in 16 minutes. Cool, we're good.
That was his last game. That's correct.
That happened to Caden Primo this season too. I don't know. You just were saying that made me think of the Panthers playing the Habs, and the Panthers were up 1-0 the whole game, but in the third period, all of a sudden, in like less than 2 minutes, it was 4-0. So there's a couple of goalies who have that issue. They can play well for a stretch, but if your offense doesn't help you out, then they start just letting everything through.
Really quick, Nick V in chat says Don Waddell might be gone if he doesn't make any moves at the deadline. What do you think of that, Amanda?
Ooh.
I think it's a very real possibility. Again, because this goalie issue for the Canes is not new to this year. If it was new to this year, you'd kind of be like, okay, like give him some time to like figure it out. But like, how long have we been talking about Freddie constantly being injured and in and out? Like poor Kachakov last year, like just up and down until like the very end.
I hope
Just
Kochekov ends up working out for Carolina, because him getting hurt kind of makes the situation like we already have to deal with all these goalies who keep getting hurt, and
A
Kochekov
very difficult name
is
to say.
supposed to be. I know how to say it, just my tongue would not do it there. But anyways,
Okay,
they were hoping that he was going to be the solution. I still think he will be, but so you hope these injuries aren't something that's consistent, because that's been the issue with ever since they got Freddie Anderson is,
well,
and
and
he has
sorry.
his issues, but like it's not been so much injuries on the ice. Like he's had the blood clots and everything, but it's still he can't play. So
This year, yeah. And the thing with Kachekov's injury is like this was like no fault of his own. Um, Not even the player who ran into him. I was watching that game live, and it was a home game for the Canes, and hearing the fans chant "Ref, you suck" when there was no call made, when it was very clearly Dmitry Orlov who pushed the other player into Kachekov. It's just like one mind blowing as just a general hockey fan. That's at least promising like this isn't the start of like him being injury prone. Like this is just kind of like a one off thing. And I think with him playing more consistently in the NHL, like he has been since Freddie's been injured, you've seen him grow and get better having that opportunity.
those sound like the exact kind of fans who would support TDA.
I don't even know how to respond to that. You're saying a home team's fans being biased against, come on.
that
That would
never
never happen
Never
in
happens.
Boston. No, no way. No.
Right.
I wouldn't know. I can't afford tickets to go up there because they're outrageous. So
That's what you get for having a good team.
probably be cheaper for me to fly down to Florida and get a ticket.
You said it
for the
is, right? You
Panthers.
said it
It
is.
probably is. Yeah. Yeah. Without a doubt.
Next year that might not be the case. It keeps going up because the team is getting better. So that's the price you have to pay. If your team sucks, the tickets are cheap, but if you want to be good, you gotta pay a little bit more.
Tank for
Bill
good
Zito,
ticket
GM
prices.
of the year. Bill Zito, GM of the year?
He I don't think he was I think he was nominated. I don't think he won it.
I meant for this year coming.
Oh, this year coming. I'd have no problem with that. The dude signed all these defensemen, and we have
Yes, he's already shaking his head no.
up until the last couple games, we have one of the best defenses in the league. We had like a 95% penalty kill for like 20 games. It was insane.
I could see him being in the running for that award, but
Right.
I think Jim Rutherford's going to get it.
Oh,
What
I mean,
what additions
they're
did
both
Jim Rutherford
deserving.
make?
We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But the way that he's turned that team around up in Vancouver has been dramatic over the last couple seasons since he's been in that position.
Okay, we'll talk about that later because I disagree.
We'll talk about your disagreement.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
So let's move on to the next injury we have to talk about. This is with San Jose, right?
It is.
We got Mikhail Granlund and Ty Emberson going on IR, but Logan Couture returning to the lineup.
Yeah, so
Still suck.
Granlund was injured in Tuesday's 2-1 shootout loss to Chicago, and he won't be eligible to come back until at least January 27th against Buffalo. Emberson was placed on injured reserve today. He's considered week to week and hasn't played a game since January 9th against Toronto. But with that, as Brett mentioned,
I was about to say I don't recognize Emberson's name like off the top of my head. I know a lot of guys, but that's definitely not one of your household names. As with most of the Sharks roster.
yeah, the Sharks don't really have a very notable roster. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
he's a defenseman, a bottom pairing
He is.
defenseman for the team. But with that, as Brett mentioned, Logan Couture is back, and he'll be coming back tonight against the Anaheim Ducks. He's been out all season with a lower body injury that he sustained in the offseason, and he said today that it was a hip/groin issue.
What do you think are the chances that Couture gets injured again before the season ends?
I think they're pretty high.
That dude is always hurt, man. We talk about a lot of players who are always hurt. Like Line A is one that comes to mind. Couture, I can't remember the last time this guy played a full 82 game season if he ever did.
I think that the opportunity for him to get hurt again is pretty high, which is unfortunate because I think that obviously San Jose needs him. I don't think they're going to be playoff contenders for a long time,
No.
but if they're going to have a shot, they need Couture in the lineup.
Yeah, and they've got him signed 3 more years, 8 million cap hit. So they want him to play. Like they don't want to keep sitting him on the sidelines on injured reserve. Like you said, they want him to play, but I don't know. This guy's got tons of issues with injuries. Just has been a super unlucky career for him. Started out super high, expected to kind of take over Patrick Marleau's kind of position with the Sharks, being like their top center, and just hasn't quite had that same impact.
So what we're saying is the Sharks should have held on to Pavelski as captain. And kept him.
Exactly.
Got it.
I'm sure they wish they did.
Moving on from that, Valeri Nichushkin of the Colorado Avalanche has announced that he is going to the Player Assistance Program. The league and the Players Association announced that on Monday. Nichushkin missed Colorado's game on last Saturday night against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he was not on the ice at the skate for the Avs on Monday morning. He is quoted as saying, "I have made the decision to seek help and enter the Players Assistance Program. My goal is to address my issues and prevent any negative outcomes once and for all. I want to thank my wife and family, my friends, the Avalanche organization, and all of our fans for their understanding and support. I will do everything I can to get back on the ice and join my teammates as soon as possible."
Who was that? It was Scott Darling, right? Who said the negative things about the player assistance
Yes.
program? Yeah, clearly those didn't make any sort of impact because players are still entering it, and to me, that speaks a lot of volume. That these players still recognize they can get help from here, regardless of Scott Darling's experience.
Right. And even with that, this is the second Avs player that has entered the program this
That's right.
season. Samuel Girard was away from the team for a month and missed nearly 6 weeks worth of games after seeking treatment for severe anxiety and depression that led to alcohol abuse. With that,
And you
Did
have
Nishkushkin or Choo was he
Choo-choo.
in before, or is this his first trip? Did he enter last year with all the stuff that was going on, or was he just away from the team?
I think he was just away from the team. I don't believe he actually entered the players' assistance program. But
but
go ahead, Brett.
sorry, yeah, I was gonna say you have to like you mentioned, Jesse, Gerard was in this program, so you have to imagine. I mean, those two definitely talked and said. I imagine that Gerard gave them a good recommendation for Nikushkin to enter the program, or maybe it. I think Amanda's looking it up, but if he had entered it prior, then he already knows. And I think I think the main point I was trying to say is like it's starting to make Scott Darling look worse and worse the more players keep going back to it. Um, Makes it look like that Darling's experience was kind of like just a one-time issue, and most players are not seeing the same thing.
Well,
And
I'm
I don't know
glad.
if that's what you guys wanted to talk about with this, but that's just where my mind went.
No, and I understand where you're coming from with that, considering what he did say was pretty
Harsh,
blatant.
very
Yeah,
harsh.
and I don't really remember word for word, but essentially he said that the they were bad people, that was a really big point that he had made on a podcast maybe back in November, that the players assistance program were just filled with people who were trying to get you out of your contract. And obviously, we're still seeing players enter the players assistance program. And
Mhm.
I'm glad to see that his words didn't have that much of an impact for the players of the NHL.
He did not enter everything that I've read. He did not enter before he just stepped away from the team when everything happened back in April.
And to go back over what happened in
Thank you, Amanda.
April, what happened there was he was in Seattle during the playoffs. It was the first round, and there was a 911 call of an intoxicated woman that needed medical assistance that had been found in his hotel room prior to Game
Oh
3.
yeah.
So that's what happened with that. There was really not much more that had come out of that. The woman had mentioned that someone stole her passport. She didn't indicate that it was Nichushkin, but that was what happened with him there. And as Amanda said, he did not enter the players assistance program during that incident.
I don't think they ever found if there was actually even truth to that story. I mean, I remember seeing that. That was wild.
It was a pretty
But
wild incident, for sure. Moving on from that, we have some contract extensions to talk about. I don't know how to say this guy's name, and I'm probably going to
I
butcher
think
it.
the first name is rough with that.
I think isn't it Alexi?
It looks
There's an
more
A in there.
complicated than
So
that.
I'm going to say Alexi Protas.
Protoss is definitely the last name, though.
Received a contract extension which will kick in next season. It is worth $16.875 million and carries an average annual value of $3.375 million. He turned 23 earlier this month and has set a career high with 18 points through 42 games with the Washington Capitals.
I mentioned this to my brother. Is this feels like a David Pulley contract? It's that long term for a not well known player for a lower value. Just because that's the kind of stuff David Pulley always did with the Predators players. Like you take guys who are like middle six, bottom six, um, your lower defenseman. If he likes them, he'll sign them long term. You normally don't see that with your middle six bottom six guys. Those guys normally rotate in and out of rosters. So I was kind of surprised. I mean, Protoss is not a name a lot of people around the NHL instantly just like no. So it was kind of interesting to see him get this long term contract. But so far, from what we've seen from him this season, it looks like he's deserving of it.
Yeah, Capitals head coach Spencer Carberry said earlier this month that he's been one of our best players overall this year. It didn't start that way, and it's been well documented. He's continued to get better, better, and better. He's become now one of our top players. So the coach is pretty happy with him, which I guess is good to hear and has some sort of impact on this contract extension for Protas. I keep saying
Sounds
Protas,
like it was
and I'm
money
thinking
well
of StarCraft.
deserved.
I was gonna say, like, you kind of wonder how this opens up the market for other players that are around the same caliber, right? Because Protoss, even though he's been like the coaches said, and we recognize that he's been one of the better defensemen, but this is not a typical contract you see defenders of this caliber sign. Normally, they're signing short-term deals to hopefully improve their game and gain more money with each contract they sign. So Protoss is kind of like it's 3 point. Hold on, I just had it. 3.375 for
Mm-hmm.
5 seasons. So he's kind of also saying he's taking. I'm rather have the length knowing I'm going to get paid than rather um, try to get more by signing short-term contracts. Which to me, it's brings a little bit question. How about how much he thinks of his own personal potential as a player? Does he not expect much growth? Like, I mean, he does get the security of being on a NHL team, getting paid, but 3.375 is not that much for NHL player.
That definitely makes sense, and it's a good point because it doesn't indicate that it's a two-way contract. This is a one-way contract, so even if he gets sent to the AHL, he's still getting paid that money. So I guess that's good for him. He's locked down on that 3.375.
Real fast, Brett, you keep mentioning him as a defenseman, and he's a center.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
Like
What I'm
we
here
said, he's
for.
not a very well-known NHLer, but it could be one of those
Sorry.
contracts in 5 years when the cap's up to 90, 95, even 100 million. That looks like a steal.
Well, he's still like I would call him a middle six, bottom six forward. So at least that somewhat made sense.
Yeah,
He's not your 1C, right?
No, definitely not. He's got 3 goals in 42 games played, 15 assists, 18 points. He's -2 for the Washington Capitals, who have kind of been pretty much middling over this season. They had a really great start to the season. They've kind of fallen off a little bit. I think that had a lot to do with the injury to Charlie Lindgren. Alex Ovechkin, I believe, is still out, and he's still not scoring. And this is the second contract that the Capitals have signed. The first one being Tom Wilson, who signed a 7-year extension in August. I hate Tom Wilson.
Most teams do. Everyone except Washington fans.
What do you think of Tom Wilson? We'd love to hear it in the
Back.
chat. He is back. Good for him. Hopefully he can start scoring. That way he can break that goal scoring record.
I mean, I know everyone would love to see Ovechkin break the record. I know even Gretzky's rooting for it. So, I mean,
I don't want to
Gretzky's
see it
tired of
happen.
being number one in all the all the stats, I guess.
I don't want to see it happen because I'm petty. And I think it would be hilarious that he doesn't do it, but it would be good for him to do it for the sport because we need those records are meant to be broken, right? But also he got his cup.
History.
Right. But he got his cup and Lundqvist didn't, so screw him. He doesn't need this too.
Be extra petty. I want Tom Wilson to get the primary assist now, Jesse.
On the
That record-breaking
Gretzky breaking goal.
Mm-hmm.
Kaz, you didn't get to talk about this, but we talked a lot
He's
about
100%
break it
going to break it. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
but on the Capitals.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you think so?
They're overachieving this year, kind of like the Kraken did last year. So, but I think he will.
He loves
will
bringing
break
them
the
up.
record.
Just shanking me in the sides. That's what I need.
I got to make up for.
I
2
wasn't
weeks
sure
of
what that
missed
motion was. So
It wasn't what you thought it was,
I-
everybody.
yeah,
it was shanking in the sides.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Well,
Moving
Jesse,
on.
Moving on.
Jesse, you Nick V agreeing with you that Tom Wilson is the worst.
Tom Wilson is the worst. I know a lot of people like Cass say that they would like, people who are pests and annoying on their team. I wouldn't want Tom Wilson. I'll take Brad Marchand all day over Tom Wilson. All day. Yeah. I actually like Marchand. I've come to like him a lot more over the last couple seasons. I hated the whole licking thing that he did, but over the last couple seasons, I've warmed up to him a little bit.
It's weird. He never for me, he never obviously he's a dirty player. That was just like over the line, over the top. Like
it was
I don't
disgusting.
think even Bruins
It's a
fans like
it's a
that. They were like,
distraction.
"What the heck?"
Yeah, it's a distraction for the team more than helping get under people's skin with your saliva.
It was absolutely gross, and I hope that never happens again. It hasn't in, what was that, 5, 6, 7 years ago? But disgusting.
It's quite a while ago. But the incidents were close to each other. But anyways, we can move on.
Yeah, moving on, we have another contract extension for a player, Shane Pinto. Well, I guess he was signed.
We talked about before the episode. It's not so much an extension as he is finally signed for this season. It took him half the year to do it.
Well, because he was
had
suspended.
to deal with the 41 game suspension. Yeah,
right. So
he will be able to play.
So he was signed on Friday to a 1-year, $775,000 deal that kicks in right before he is eligible to return from a 41-game suspension for violating the NHL's sports wagering rules. Pinto can make his season debut Sunday in Philadelphia and will earn a prorated salary of just under $360,000 for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, so I gave this hint to Jesse. Might as well give it to anyone who's listening here live, and for those who are going to listen later when we release it on Spotify and all that. But actually, for the people who are listening on Spotify, it's probably going to be too late. You got to pick him up on your fantasy team because he's probably going to be available. He plays tomorrow. Me and Jesse grabbed him.
I already got the GM of my current league said, good grab on Pinto. I was waiting to grab him, so he's already pissed off about it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So just to backtrack a little bit, Pinto became the first NHL player of the league's modern era to receive a gambling-related suspension when he was handed a half-season ban in October. There weren't much details that came out surrounding why he was banned. They only really said that it had been related to gambling. They had mentioned that it wasn't because he was gambling on NHL games, but there was a lot of speculation, particularly here on this podcast, about that not being true. So it's good to see him back, or coming back to the league. He was back in Ottawa on January 12th to resume practicing with his teammates. So there was a huge expectation that he was going to be signing some sort of contract. And that head coach for the Senators, Jacques Martin, said that at the time he was expected Pinto to be in the lineup tomorrow, January 21st, against the Flyers.
The funniest thing that came out of this whole Shane Pinto suspension was that image of Shane Pinto with the Senators helmet that is advertising a sports betting company. The
irony, like right?
The irony, yeah.
There was a meme that had happened around that time where it was an NHL press release that they had put out on Twitter. It was an image of that, and it said, "This suspension sponsored by Betway, DraftKings, Bet365." I thought that was hilarious.
Oh my gosh. It'll be interesting to see how Pinto does coming back. Obviously, I don't know if he's been allowed to practice with the team at all, if he's been able to be skating with the team. I'm sure he's been practicing on his own, making sure that his body's ready for the return. But it'll be interesting to see how he gels with the team if he hasn't been able to practice with them.
So he's still in a contract, so he's going to want to perform.
That's right. You're right.
So he wasn't able to have any contact with the team during his suspension. He was back in New York, his hometown, while he was on the suspension. The article that I read did indicate that he was practicing, obviously just not with the team.
Right.
And
well,
he was,
you have to, so yeah.
Right. And he was only able to come back within the last week to Ottawa to play with his teammates.
Yeah, so it's going to be a weird game for him. I don't expect him to get a lot of minutes this game either. I think it's going to take them probably a full month before he really gets back into playing, because he's been conditioning, right? But practicing on your own is a lot different than practicing with your team. So, yeah, he's probably gonna have a slow start, but I think once a couple weeks pass, I think he'll get back to producing the way that he was.
This is going to be a huge benefit for Ottawa, who has been struggling this season. They are not doing well. Currently, they're in the Central Division, right? Yes.
No,
I'm sorry, not the Central, the
they're in the
Atlantic.
Atlantic,
Yeah, and
the one that has all the Canadian teams and then the 2 Florida teams.
They are at the bottom of the wild card standings, even below the Columbus Blue Jackets, though they do only have 41 games played, which is one of the least of the entire division. They're sitting at 33 points, 16 wins, 24 losses, and 1 overtime loss.
This was supposed to be a better year for Ottawa too. Like a lot of people had them like this team could sneak in, get into the wild card, and it looks like it's going to be another year where they're gonna be trying to get a top lottery pick.
There's been a
Who
few
knows?
teams.
Maybe they'll add Celebrini to the roster. I'm sure they wouldn't hate that.
There's been a few teams that have had that. Buffalo Sabres being another one that people were having a lot of expectations from, and they're also not doing well. It goes 8th Buffalo Sabres, 9th Columbus Blue Jackets, 10th Ottawa Senators. So all of these teams that had these big expectations in the beginning of the year not doing well at all.
And what's the common theme on all three of them? All three thought their goaltending was going to be better this year, and they all suck.
One team, we weren't going to talk about this, but it just made me think about it. One team that was kind of like a pick to be a surprise that's gone better, is the Detroit Red Wings. They are currently, if they're not in a playoff spot, they're like right there.
They are second wild card.
Yeah, okay. So that's a team that's kind of, everyone says this is a team that's going to improve a lot. Like we said, a lot of people were thinking Buffalo and Ottawa. Detroit actually came through on that, and their goaltending is probably the shakiest of all of them. They signed 3 goaltenders, Reimer, Husso, and Alex Lyon, and those are all kind of gamble goaltenders. You have no idea how they're going to do. And Lyon had his stretch of 6 games that pushed Florida into the playoffs last year, but that's 6 games. You don't know how that's going to translate. He beat Florida just this past week because we can't beat any goaltender who's been on our team before. That's not going to happen.
It's the curse of the Panthers, huh?
Well, I don't know. We had everyone was blaming the Ducks loss because Radko was in the lineup. Like, we weren't going to win because they got Radko. But whatever. Anyways, the point I was saying is like Detroit's done well despite their goaltending also being kind of in a weird situation. So Detroit's done good. Buffalo and Ottawa.
Moving on to our next topic, GM Jim Rutherford of the Vancouver Canucks signed a 3-year extension to remain president of hockey operations and general manager for the team. His current contract was set to expire after this season, and the new contract runs through 2026-27. Rutherford's going to be 75 in February, and he's going to continue to lead what has been an impressive turnaround this season for a team that he joined a little bit over 2 years ago.
I say with how the Canucks have done this year, absolutely the right move. And Rutherford was definitely pushing to get the extension done as soon as possible. You never know what's going to happen later in the year. Vancouver could go on this horrible stretch. I don't expect it, but you never know. So might as well try to sign that extension while the team's at literally the top of the league.
So I don't have a problem with him being extended. I just don't associate the success that they've had all with. I put it more on the coach than I do on the GM. The success this year, they still have for the most part the same roster that they had last year. They have obviously the goalie's doing a little bit better, a lot better this year than it was last year. But they didn't add like a key cog this year that I can think of off the top of my head that he added in the offseason. That's why I argued against him for GM of the year.
But who signed the coach?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, but that was last year too. Tocchet had half a season last year, and the whole season this year has been a complete turnaround.
I think with him having more of an opportunity, Tocchet that is, having more of an opportunity to gel the team during the offseason, that gave them a lot more potential to be a better team this season, and nobody was expecting them to be where they are.
I mean, Vancouver has the talent. They've always had the talent to be this kind of team. The last couple of years. I mean, most of the players, like Cass, you said it. They didn't really add anyone. This has been their team. They're just finally playing up to their potential. Now, here's one thing with the Canucks is I don't expect this success to continue in the playoffs. They don't haven't really done much in the playoffs. Any of these players, it would be a somewhat. I don't know if it's a new experience for everyone on the roster, but I know for Pedersen, for Quinn Hughes, um, I was thinking Kuzmenko, but he's been up and down this
So
year a lot.
bad. He has not been
But
good.
but Pedersen and Quinn Hughes, that's their two big guys, and they don't have that playoff experience, and that sometimes plays a big factor in the success for the postseason. Like with Vegas, they already went on their cup run, and they had quite a few players from that, and the players who weren't on that, aside from Jack Eichel, had playoff experience. So for the Canucks, I can see them potentially being a President's Trophy winner who goes out in the second round, which would just continue that President's Trophy curse.
I understand a lot of the players haven't had playoff success and playoff experience, but one thing that gets forgotten is Rick Tocchet has a lot of playoff
That's
experience
true.
Mhm.
That's
as a
true.
player and as a coach. So even though the players might not have it, the coach knows what to bring come that time of year that might get swept under the rug and might get forgotten about.
We had thrown around the idea of talking about who we might think the Stanley Cup final is going to be against. And I had it because I didn't want to choose my team to be biased, but I had it so that it was going to be a rematch of 2011 with Vancouver versus Boston.
Boston.
And Vancouver winning their first Stanley Cup and a riot breaking out in the city of Boston. So I'm hoping that happens still.
Dude, if even if Vancouver wins, they're breaking out in a riot. It doesn't
Of
matter.
course they are. Of course they are.
The real
There
question is,
there will be
will
fire.
Milan Lucic be a scumbag in Boston or in Vancouver during that time?
He's probably not going to come back to the team.
He's not.
I don't think so. And we'll talk more about
Touch on
that
that later.
in a little bit. Yeah. But you wanted to mention moves that Rutherford did, and he did acquire Bo Horvat. He did get Philip Hronek from.
Do you mean he traded away? Bo
He
Horvat?
traded Horvat.
I'm sorry, he traded away Bo Horvat and got Beauvillier, who he
That worked.
eventually got rid of.
How'd that work?
Not well for them. They bought out Oliver Ekman Larson's 8-year contract, the final 4 seasons of
He's
his
doing
8-year
well this year.
contract. He's doing well in Florida. They brought in Carson Soucy, Ian Cole, and Teddy Bluger. All three of names that aren't really too big. I think the biggest thing that he did was bringing in Casey DeSmith as backup for Thatcher Demko.
That was a surprising move. They like because Casey DeSmith got traded to Montreal, didn't play a single game with Montreal because the season didn't start, and then he got traded to Vancouver. That was a good move though. It ended up being a really good move. It was a gutsy move ish.
I'm not mistaken.
didn't
It
have
didn't
to give
cost a crap load either.
No, it didn't, but still, like, you never know. With goaltending, especially this year, you never know how it's gonna go. It's been a weird year with goaltending.
It has been a weird year, and now I'm thinking PTSD for all of the games Igor Shesterkin has played in 2024. Ridiculous. Moving on from that, in other news, Cale Makar has become the second fastest defenseman to reach 300 points. He did so in 280 games, being second, as I mentioned, to achieve the feat behind only Bobby Orr, who did it in 279 games.
Dude, he was so close.
He had the
That's
Against the
opportunity.
Bruins too.
He had the opportunity to do it against the Bruins, and he was unable to do that on Thursday. Cale Makar does lead all defensemen this season with points as of right now, or as of I took the notes, with 54 points and 44 assists.
Yeah,
It's
Cale
funny
Makar's been.
because the Avalanche got smacked by the Bruins, and now the Bruins are smacking the Canadians 9-4. Oh,
Whoa, 9-4. Jeez,
yeah. I'm pretty sure the Bruins scored 6 against the Avs the other day.
5.
Was it 5? Okay.
Yes.
So this is kind of like an issue Ovechkin has dealt with when talked about conversations comparing different eras. Like if Cale Makar stays on the pace he's on and plays a full career, like 1,500 games, and players have played more than that. 1,500 would be a lot. And Bobby Orr only played like he played 700, just around that, I believe. It was not a lot. So if Cale Makar can keep up this production but have a longer career, does he become the greatest offensive defenseman in NHL history?
I think he has the potential to do that. I mean, his name is already connected to so many accolades. He's a great player. I don't really think he has too much of an injury history. I know he's been out a little bit, but I don't think it's been anything too major. I'm looking it up right now, but I do think he has the opportunity to be a really great, to be the best offensive defenseman in NHL history.
A lot of people, and Kaz, you might feel this way too, that Bobby Orr will just never be beaten because of the point per game production. So he had a short career, but in that span, his numbers were insane. So for some people, it's like, well, we'll never know really what Bobby Orr's career could have been if he played a full game. So he'll always be number one.
Correct, but at the same time, it was a different era where goalies were
Sure, it
not
was
wearing what
definitely.
they're wearing today. So, I mean, in my mind, Cale Makar, if he keeps on the pace that he's going and he has a full career, unlike Bobby Orr, will surpass Bobby Orr, but he will never. You looked at it as the second best player in NHL history, like Bobby Orr is.
Yeah, and a lot of
But he
NHL
only
fans are
played
gonna feel that way. Yeah,
657 games, Bobby Orr. That was his total
right.
career.
They all
I
should have
like
been with the
it's.
Bruins too. His agent sucks.
Yeah, I knew it was under. It was like either right around 700 or under. So 657. Okay. Yeah, and that is a good point. People are always going to put Gretzky, and then they'll either go how or. And I don't know if people are ever going to be able to say any other different top three. Some people can make arguments, but like a general consensus is normally those three players, and it feels like irregardless of how players do in the modern era of hockey, that feels like
Well,
it's
that's
not going to
it.
be
Like
surpassed.
Crosby and Ovechkin are probably would say what top 10, but I don't think anyone's gonna be in that upper echelon ever
The
as a modern
60s,
player.
70s, 80s.
The older players are just so ingrained in there.
Would you put
Maybe when we're the old people, it'll be different.
Ovechkin in top 5 even? No?
Even if he breaks the record, I don't think I would.
This game has been going
A lot
on
of
for so
people, a lot of
long.
people, a lot of people would put Maurice Richard still above
Mhm.
Ovechkin as a goal scorer. So
This game has
I
been
don't know if
going on for
I
so
would.
long, man. It's impossible to break it's almost impossible to break most of these records and break through these names that have made this game what it is today.
Yeah, like the 92, and that's a Gretzky record. The 92 goals in a season. I
That'll
don't
never get
Disgusting.
touched.
think we're ever gonna see that unless you're
No.
playing EA Sports. Like that's the only way you ever get to see that record broken. I mean, I
That
put
has
up 250 goals a season, I think, one time.
that has
Not
as much to do with Gretzky's skill as it does as goalie and their talent level and the equipment that they had on, though. You know what I mean? Like, I'd say that's equivalent to 65, 70. Like Austin, who hit McDavid hit 60 last year, right? Or was it Matthews? Someone hit 60 goals last year, right?
someone. I think Matthews has hit
Well, you know
60
what?
at some point.
Might have been Pasta. Uh-huh.
But Cass, a lot of people say that they like to say that if Gretzky played in today's era, it would be different. But no
He'll
one
still be
was
sick though.
really
Like,
there was no one was really close to this 92,
yeah.
right? Like 50 has always been like the you are elite goal scorer if you get 50, and that's been pretty consistent. The 92 is absolutely insane. No one else even got like I think we see 70 goal seasons, right? Like Timo Solani had a 70 goal season.
Rookie year, right?
Yeah. And I don't think there's ever been another 80, and there definitely has not been another 90. So even though the era in the 80s you score a lot more, no one was still close. That's the point I always like to bring up when people say that Gretzky wouldn't have been able to do it. Why doesn't everyone else be right behind Gretzky? He's still like miles ahead.
Oh yeah.
The point that is always great to bring up, he could have never scored a single goal in his career and still lead the league NHL all time in points with just his assist.
That's disgusting.
It's insane. And that's still
Well,
true.
It's funny. It's like the brother trio that has the most points is Gretzky and his brother. His brother only has 1 point.
Yeah.
But
I think it's a little bit more than that. Isn't it 4?
is it okay? Well,
I
either
think
way,
it's a little.
It's not
bit
double
more
digits.
than that. It's definitely not double digits.
We're talking about players whose career ended early, like Bobby Orr. Like Mario's got ended early, and he came back, and like he would have been up there too. I mean, he is, but shout out Tyson. Mario Lemieux should be viewed as an upper echelon player too. But he
Right.
didn't play as much as he should have.
Some people put him at number 2 right behind Gretzky. Like we said Orr, and I know I mentioned Howe too, but a lot of people would put Lemieux at that number 2 spot. Some people, probably Penguins bias there, will put him at number 1.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
But
I
his
think
point
that's
per game
ridiculous, too.
pace, his point per game pace is still less than Gretzky's. So even if he kept the same scoring pace and played as many games as Gretzky, he still would be. He'd be that thing about Gretzky never scoring a goal wouldn't be true anymore. But he still would be below Gretzky.
Deviated a little bit on that, but that was a really great conversation. So kudos on that one. Moving on, we're going to update a little bit about Milan Lucic. Just to go back a little bit, in November, he was arrested after his wife called the Boston Police Department to report a domestic incident. He had been drinking, according to the police, and I think it was out. Cass, you posted something that he was dragging her by the hair or something like that. Is that true?
Yeah. So more details that I saw came out this week saying they were having an argument and he dragged her by the hair down the hallway, which is stupid, disrespectful piece of movements. But yeah, I mean, he has a court date I think next month. I know I'm trying to behave.
It's one. It's one. It's only one. Only one.
It's the one that's the one swear you're probably gonna hear from me today, and it's perfectly right where it should be.
Agreed.
The scumbag segment of the show. Yeah, so he has a hearing in February. What I understand, his wife didn't press charges, but the police did. So it's not
Wow.
According to, I'm going to cut you off for that real quick. According to the article that I read, his wife did not drop domestic charges against her husband.
Okay.
And on Friday, he had appeared for a pretrial hearing at the Boston Municipal Court via Zoom.
I know where that is. Yeah. So
been there before?
No, never.
Mm-hmm.
I know exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a good boy. I got no record.
Right.
Yeah. So what I thought I heard was his wife didn't press charges, but obviously that would have been back in November. It happened in November, right?
Yes.
It's been a while.
So here's the other thing that he's obviously a PR disaster. They brought him back to kind of 100th season, rah rah rah. And tonight they play the Canadians, and they had an errors night, and they debuted the '88 team of the Bruins, who finally beat the Canadians in the playoffs. And they paraded the whole team out on the ice, and they did a photo op. So one of the next ones is going to be when they won the Cup in 2011. Like, is he not going to be out on the ice, or are they going to be stupid enough to have him out on the ice with everyone else?
I think they shouldn't. I
don't think they should either. It's a disaster.
Yeah.
I think
Lucic has played his last game in the NHL, and it would be asinine for any team to consider signing him.
Well, he's still under contract by the Bruins. Technically, I think it's like a leave of a personal leave or something.
He's on LTIR, isn't he?
I believe so. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he's on LTIR. I don't think he did. I don't think he entered the players' assistance program. Oh no, wait, he did.
So
he did.
He was technically injured when this happened. I don't know if there's like a loophole that he stays on LTIR until his legal bullshit gets figured out. There's number 2, but so I don't know how that works, but as far as I know, like he's not. They don't really need him either. Like the fourth
They
line is
don't.
gelled
They
pretty
don't need
well with
him.
the Bruins. You know, Lauco. They just sent the Boston Bruins just sent Johnny Beecher and Mason Lorelei down to Providence. I really like Johnny Beecher as a fourth liner, but he hasn't done too much the last week or two. So, but I like how their lineup is the way it is. I don't think they need him.
I would agree with that. I mean, they've got some really good guys that are producing on those bottom lines. Just keep them off the ice. It would be a bigger problem for them, I think, if they brought him back in. The optics would not look good for that team. Just cut ties with him once you can and be done with him. Wash your hands of him.
And again, the Bruins are kind of dumbasses and shoot themselves in the foot, just like Mitchell Miller last year. So they'll probably bring him back. You know, the last week of the season.
Do you think? Do you genuinely think that? Do you
No
genuinely
way.
think that they'll
They
bring
need
him
No,
back?
I'm being
doing this
facetious.
stuff.
I'm definitely being facetious. But they had the great season going last year, and they signed this scumbag that
Cass
did
is
all
just
that racial
making the
stuff. So
Cass is just making the point that the Boston doesn't have a great history of with players and doing not great
Yeah.
stuff off the ice.
mhm. And the Boston Bruins
Unfortunately-
acknowledging that and not moving forward with any kind of players.
He's been on LTIR since October 28th.
That's like 1 week into the season. That's crazy.
Yeah, and then this incident happened on November 19th. So only a couple weeks after he was put onto LTIR did he have that run-in with the Boston police and his wife. So just be done with him. He doesn't need to be playing anymore.
Nope. He's made his money.
He's made his money. He's made his career. He's won a Stanley Cup. Be gone. Get out of here. We don't need that nonsense happening in the league.
What do you think the reaction will be from Boston fans, Cass, if he is on the ice for that celebration of the 2011 Cup?
He won't get booed.
I don't think he'd get
it
booed
won't be an
either.
overwhelming booed. You know what I mean? He was personal life aside, he was a very important part of that run.
Right.
I mean, the kind of man he is, the piece of crap part. I mean, some people separate it from the hockey. It's kind of hard because I was all about bringing him back, and then you hear this, and apparently there was a previous incident with him too that kind of got swept under the rug during 2011, I believe, or 2010. So there's a history there. No matter what, I don't give a crap what you do for a living. Don't do that shit. End of story.
Yeah, that doesn't need to be a part of the game.
So, Cass, you aren't allowed to curse again because I guess 3. So we got to keep it there. All right.
Oh.
That's got to be the last.
The over under for
Fine.
Cass's swearing was, I think, 6.5 is what I said in the beginning.
You said 7.5.
I said
Jesse.
7.5. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Everyone else. Oh, there you go. I win. Moving on from that. Yanni Gourde of the Seattle Kraken was suspended for 2 games for charging Matthias Ekholm of the Edmonton Lickholm. Yeah, Jesus. For charging
on your mind or what?
Yeah, he's got to be.
So he was Boston talk in this episode.
Yanni Gourde was suspended for 2 games for charging Matthias Ekholm of the Edmonton Oilers. Ekholm had beaten him to a puck, and Gourde left his feet to deliver a hit with momentum, making contact with Ekholm's head. Department of Player Safety said in their video, if Gourde wishes to deliver this check legally, he must stay low and hit through Ekholm's shoulder or core rather than elevating upward and into his head. Has anyone seen this hit?
I only have heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
But given what you just said, I kind of get the idea.
He jumped into him.
Thinking about this, Jesse, think about what we talked about way early in the episode with Lockwood. Lockwood got more games for that thing he did with Fleury than Gourde is getting for leaping and making head contact with this guy.
I think that Gourde got a rightful amount of games.
Yeah.
I think that was, a good amount. I think that what was his name? Lockwood. I think that he got screwed.
Like from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Lockwood.
I think he got screwed there. But he's going to be forced out to sit out of Seattle's next 2 games, which are going to be against the Toronto Maple Leafs tomorrow, Sunday, and the Chicago Blackhawks on Wednesday. Under the terms of the collective bargaining agreement and based on his annual average salary, Gord will forfeit $53,819.44. I would vomit if that happened to me. But that's also like, what, 5% of his annual salary?
These guys are all making couple $1 million a year, so. But
Alan
still
in our
53,000, not fun.
Alan in our chat says, would have been less games for Gord if he didn't have prior history. And he was suspended, I think it was, I didn't write it down, it was a couple years ago, for a previous incident. But I think that this is the right call for him. I think that it's a good amount of games for him to be sitting out of. And I know that there's been some discussion about whether he deserved that suspension or not. I personally think he does. I'm going to take my bias for my love of the Seattle Kraken out of it. I do think that he left his feet. I do think that he made a bad hit, and it is absolutely charging 100%. Moving on.
I mean, I don't have. Sorry, don't.
No, that's
don't
fine.
Have a lot to comment on that one.
That's fine. Moving on from that, we're going to talk a little bit about Elvis Merzlikins.
This is a funny one.
It is, because on the 15th, on Monday, the 15th of January, Jason Newland, who covers the Columbus Blue Jackets for the Hockey News, stated that Merzlikins requested a trade out of Columbus following that shootout victory against the Vancouver Canucks. That came 3 days after reports came out that indicated that Elvis, quote, had not asked for a trade from the team, but the goalie said Friday he and the team have agreed to that a new scenario is needed. So it's a little weird to see what is going on with Elvis, because here we are a week ago yesterday, that he needs a new situation, he needs some sort of new outcome, and that he didn't want to trade from the team. And then a mere 3 days later, in his first start since the end of December, he's indicating that he wants a trade. And there wasn't really any sort of clarity on this. I don't think I ever got any clarity on this myself. Did he say that he wanted a trade, or did he say something else?
So, Jesse, that guy, and you tweeted him, and he never got back to you.
No, he didn't.
Basically, this guy
How
is
dare
making
he?
a baseless accusation that he has nothing to back it up with, because he's saying he said this in a post-game interview. The video of the post-game interview is out there to the general public. You can listen to the whole thing. He never says he's requesting a trade. The weirdest thing he says in it is he's pulling the monster out of him. I don't know how you get that to mean I don't want to be in Columbus anymore, because it's not. He just kind of was. He was amped up. He's like, I want to be the starter. Basically, that's the different situation. Everyone knows it. He wants to be the starter, and he needed to prove it. So that's kind of what he's talking about. I saw some tweets saying, no, he said it in the radio broadcast. Well, then share it. I mean,
I would love to hear it.
back it up. Like, if he requested a trade, he would already be gone. Like, this wouldn't still be a thing. And
what team wants him? I know there's teams that need a goalie, but what team wants him?
You guys can't see it. Amanda just raised the hand. Every Kane fan.
Columbus goalie quota for the year.
You get Spencer Martin. That's it.
It was the wrong one though.
They saw a Columbus goalie get sent down. They thought it was Elvis, and they just, Columbus goalie gets sent down. We want that guy. Oh, it's Spencer Martin. Whoops.
Does that mean
They
Columbus
didn't read the
isn't
fine
going to
print.
trade him off? Does that mean Columbus isn't going to trade Merzlikins? That's why they got rid of Martin. Like, I don't understand why they would have sent Martin down on waivers if they're planning on getting rid of Merzlikins if he really wants to get out. It's just really weird, because their other goalie, I think it's Tarasov, right?
It is Daniil Tarasov.
It's just one of those head scratchers. Like, I don't think they have crazy depth in their farm team, so why wouldn't you keep Merzlikin where he's at on the bench? He hasn't started a game in a while, and try and find a trade partner for him. I understand you kind of want to showcase him, but at the same time, like, is 1 or 2 games with that crappy team in front of him really going to make a difference in the trade market? You risk injury, too.
He wants to be the starter in Columbus. Like, if he got to choose what he wants, that's what it is. If he deserves it, I don't know, but I don't think he has a no trade clause.
He does.
He does. Okay,
modified. It's modified.
they gave him a crazy contract, so I'm not too surprised. But um, they he's not going to want to be in a situation where he is the backup. He's made that clear. His numbers don't back it up though. That's been the issue. He's saying I am a starter, but his play doesn't really show that. And that's been the issue. Like a team would be willing to trade for Elvis to be a backup, but he doesn't want that. So then he's going to be whining and complaining no matter which team he's playing for if he's in a backup role. And teams don't want that. They don't want a guy who's demanding to be a starter, whose goals against average is above 3 and his save percentage is floating around 9, sometimes under. Like
Amanda, maybe your Carolina Hurricanes should go after Ottawa Senators goalie Jonas Corposalo and just hit the trifecta of Columbus goalies.
You would love that. You mentioned his stats. You mentioned Merzlikins' stats. He's had 25 games played, 8 wins, 9 losses, 6 overtime losses, 3.26 goals against average, .905 save percentage. He has 3 years left on his contract at $5.4 million, and he is the 11th highest paid active goaltender in the NHL.
See, just 3.25. And I know a lot of people say his numbers are inflated because he's on a bad team. But
Amanda, can you tell
how
what
you
that
gonna take
defense is
that
ranked in the
gamble?
NHL?
Would you be willing to accept $5.4 million cap hit on the Carolina Hurricanes?
I don't think they can do it.
I don't think they
she'd
can
rather
either.
have Olmark at $5 million.
Every team would rather have Allmark. Are you kidding me?
We mentioned that last week too about how you think that Allmark's going to be gone more than Swayman.
Yeah, absolutely. I also wouldn't do
Swayman's
whatever
younger.
the Bruins don't need defense, so they don't need Pesci. You know what I mean? That was one of the trade things. Like they're pretty good on defense, so I would take a forward.
I know Amanda's still looking something up, and we don't have to get into this too much, but what would you want in return for Allmark?
So
draft picks?
I'd have to look to see if he has I think he has one more year after this year, and a cap hit at $5 million. It's hard. I would like to see a higher.
Well, you're the
pick plus,
GM.
I don't know because I feel like I'm going to be asking too much if I ask for a first round pick plus a roster player. You know what I mean? A forward.
So you'd want an
top six roster
NHL
player.
ready guy,
and then probably a second or a first round pick.
and you'd be picking.
Boston
this is
needs
where
it.
Boston can get their center. This is where Boston can get their center if they trade Linus Allmark. That's what they should do. Even if they don't get a first round pick, if they can get a solid center, that's a good return.
See, like if I was Boston, I would do like I don't know, Allmark and a 6th round pick for Elias Lindholm and Vladar and a 3rd round pick or something like that, where you get a backup goalie to back up Swayman, you get your center of the future, and you get a little bit of draft capital.
You're overvaluing Allmark a little bit more.
I know, but if I hold the cards, I don't have to make the move either. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
So I'm in a position of surplus. I'm not in a position of need at this point. They are 3rd in the league. It's not like It's not like they put up 9 goals tonight too. It's not like they're desperate for. They do need some more forward depth, but they're not desperate. Oh, someone has to blow me away with an offer in order to make a trade, which is what I think happened last year. If he was available and they were shopping him, I don't think they got blown away by any of the offers that they got, and that's why he's still on the team. I would be shocked if they traded Swayman, but then again,
I don't think that's going to happen.
Who knows?
I would be surprised if it does,
unless they can't come to an agreement on a contract,
which is what
he's
happened
on
last
RFA
year.
this year. Yep.
Okay.
Amanda, did you ever find that thing?
30th. Yes.
30th.
It took a little bit, about 30th, for their defense.
You know who's 31st and 32nd? You still have it up?
31st is Ottawa, 32nd is San Jose.
There you go. Where's Washington?
Oh my gosh.
I'm just curious because Lindgren.
Why don't you just list out 1 through 32 for us, Amanda?
Don't do that. We don't have time.
Washington is 12th.
Wow. Thought they'd be a little bit higher than that.
All right.
So even given that fact that Columbus is 30th in defense, you're still taking a gamble on Elvis if he can perform well with a good defense. And Alan just commented again saying that Elvis did request, but there just wasn't interest around the league. And if he did request, I just haven't. I don't know. I guess I just need to see more proof that he did. But he
So
definitely
So
could have.
wait a
the
minute.
only thing I can find like officially is like on the
I
NHL.com
saw that
website.
too. Yeah.
And the only thing it's saying, like quoting him saying, after my last interview, everybody knows I requested for a trade, and then he goes to talk about
Oh,
the game.
I
So
guess pulling
apparently
There's
out
it's
the
common
monster
knowledge.
equals by
there's
wanting to
some
trade.
major confusion about this entire scenario because I'm under the impression that he did not request a trade. The NHL's website, which is obviously significantly more impactful than my opinion, is saying that he is. So I don't know. I don't know where we sit on this. I think that
It just makes the situation all the more confusing.
I don't think he's going to be gone by the trade deadline unless he does something that is so super impactful for the Columbus Blue Jackets and blows people's minds out of the water. I don't think he's going to be gone by the trade deadline. I think this is going to have to be an offseason thing that they take care of to get him out of Columbus if he wants it.
Right.
So
Well,
I know
the
not
thing
a
is,
lot of teams will take him at 5.4. Will teams take him at 2.7 if Columbus seats half the cap?
but
They would
that's
have
for
to.
what, like 4 years? That's not going to happen. You're not going
3
to take half
years.
a salary.
3 years after
Still,
this.
like, I can't see Columbus retaining that much for 3 years.
Alan said it's Elvis. He's a drama queen. Any team would be smart to avoid him like the plague.
Yeah. Yes. That's what I was kind of saying. Like this
Except the
guy,
Carolina Hurricanes.
he's shown that he's kind of a headache. He's demanding to be a starter. Like you don't want a guy like that. You want a guy who's going to come in. I'm here to fill the role that's needed. Um, unless you're a dude like Sergei Bobrovsky being paid 10 million,
Mhm.
there's no way that Florida is going to make someone else the starter over him.
I've mentioned this before. I don't think that the numbers that a guy is getting paid should warrant where
No,
he
it
is in the
shouldn't.
lineup.
You're right. You're right.
It shouldn't. Because if
But it
Stolarz all of a
does.
sudden blew everyone's mind out of the water and was lights out over Bobrovsky, put Stolarz in. Like, I mean,
like
that's,
Lion was last year.
yeah, and I think that's what
Well,
I was mentioning.
They did for 6 straight games. And I guess it's fair. You're right. They did kind of do that. And Bobrovsky then played out his mind for most of the playoffs and proved that he kind of earned it there. But yeah, I try not to talk too much about the Panthers because then you guys are like, you just all
Be
only
great.
talk about the Panthers. And I'm trying to do better. So I hope that's been noticed.
Bias. It's a bias. I'm kidding.
I just like to talk about my team.
Speaking of no one else's team, moving on from Elvis Merzlikins, it was announced
Holy
today.
crap!
And this threw me for a loop. I wasn't expecting it. It was announced today that Lane Lambert, former head coach of the New York Islanders, has been told to go to hell and has been fired from the team. And then they
Is that a direct quote?
No, that's a me
Oh,
quote.
darn.
I wish. I could see Lamoriello saying that though. Tell him to go to hell. Get him out of here. Rah, rah, rah. He was
Rhode
replaced.
Island Hockey Hall of Fame, Lou Lamoriello to you, sir.
He was replaced with Hall of Fame goaltender Patrick Waugh, who has not who's not coached an NHL game since the end of the 2017-2018 season.
Yeah. I think the hire is almost more surprising than the firing. Like I think the firing kind of came out of nowhere, but to go with Patrick Waugh, like whoa. I don't think that was a good move by the Islanders. If you're going to fire the coach, okay, but
What? I love it.
this is the guy you're going to go with. And like you said, he
Absolutely
hasn't
love
coached a game since 2017 and the team he'd only coached the Avalanche, right? I don't think he coached anyone else.
Correct. Yeah.
Those Avalanche teams were mid. Like they were okay. Like, but
You got Coach of the Year.
he
when was
did.
coach of the Avs. Yeah.
What? I know they-
2013, 2014 Jack Adams Award. He was
What?
he had 130 wins, 92 losses, and 24 overtime losses in his 3 seasons.
Well, the Avalanche
Wasn't
didn't
a
win Stanley
bad
Cup
coach.
until they got rid of
No.
him. So
But yeah, I mean, they also didn't win until they got rid of the coach after that either. Or was Bednar
That's
a
what
direct
that's what I'm
hire
saying.
from him?
That's what
Was
I'm saying.
Bednar a direct hire after Wad? Do we know that, Amanda? My point is, this team has been very, very, very inconsistent. They've gone on winning streaks, and they go on losing streaks, and they go on winning streaks, and they go on losing streaks. He's not going to tolerate any of the bull crap. He's not going to let them get away with that kind of stuff. He's going to hold everyone accountable, and he's going to be exactly what that team needs. So they're going to be another. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals for how many years in a row? You know, they're going to be in the butt to play against again. He's not going to let any player skate by. I think he's going to get the best out of the superstars that are there. And if anything, he's going to, not that Sorokin and Varlamov need the help, but he's a goalie. He knows how to talk goalies to the goalie. You know, it's a totally different language in a certain aspect. I think it's a great hire. I think it puts
Okay.
the Islanders back on the map, and I think they're going to be one of the 2 wild card spots now.
Hot take.
Lamoriello
take,
said
yeah.
in a call today that Patrick Waugh was the only person I was interested in. There was no one else that
Wow.
Lamoriello wanted for this position other than Waugh. So, I mean, it was either Lambert or Waugh or nobody.
And if I remember correctly, other teams were interviewing for head coaching jobs, and he just didn't make it through the final processes at the beginning of the at the end of last season. I'm pretty sure he was. I want to say he might have gotten interviewed for Columbus before they hired Babcock. I could be wrong though. Holy crap! What a bombshell to drop on a Saturday afternoon from the Islanders. I love it.
Yeah,
I don't.
fired and hired in the same day. Normally, you don't see that. That's what's kind of surprising. They must have been already
Lamoriello
interviewing
knew.
guys.
He was like, "You're
He
done. You're in. Get them the hell out of here. We're going on."
Do you think he interviewed him? Like, that's why I said this interview process must have already been going on while Lambert was still coaching, which is
The
kind
best
of
part
crazy.
of this is that the Islanders play in Montreal on Thursday. Love it. I'll be putting money on that game.
I'm not excited about it at all. I hate the Islanders, and I do not want them to be successful.
Wonder why.
Jesse's sweating. I love it.
I am sweating a little bit. I've been sweating since January 1st, honestly.
The team's gone. I think New York's going to bounce back up, Jesse. I wouldn't count them out yet.
I think the Islanders are going to bounce back up too. That's what I've been saying.
Please clarify, Brett. Please clarify who you're talking about.
The Rangers.
It won't be sweating, Jesse, if you end up going to the Stadium Series. So
sure. Yeah. Anywho, what do we got going on after this? That is the end of our NHL news for this week. We have, if I can pull it up really, really fast.
Some predictions.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some awards predictions that we have. It is relatively early, and I guess not relatively early. We're already halfway through the season at this point. Yeah, so I think that this is a good time for this sort of conversation. We're going to go over our predictions for the Hart Trophy, the Vezina Trophy, and the Norris Trophy. Brett, I'm going to let you go first.
You want me to do all three?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So, for Vezina, I think this was a pretty easy pick. It's definitely Connor Hellebuck. That is, I feel, pretty clear cut. The dude is second in wins, and his goals against average is second in the league, only behind Adin Hill. And Adin Hill's been unable to play a lot because of the injuries. And then Connor Hellebuck also tied for second in save percentage, only behind, once again, Adin Hill. But Adin Hill just doesn't have quite the amount of work that Hellebuck has. And Winnipeg is one of the best teams in the league right now. And
who expected that?
Got to go to him. No, not a lot of people. So that's the easy one. Okay. I think for the Hart, it's a little bit more. I think you could go a couple ways just because McDavid's not playing out of his mind right now. Edmonton's playing out of their minds lately, but Connor McDavid currently 7th in points. One thing, and I hate to predict this, but I can see Kucherov winning the Hart again, especially if the Lightning make the playoffs. So I'm going to put that qualifier in there. If Tampa makes the postseason and Kucherov continues producing this way, I think Kucherov wins the Hart because this is a team that's been struggling. They've shown they've regressed a little bit. But if Kucherov's production brings them to the playoffs, I'd say he probably wins the Hart. Hope neither of those things happen, but that's just that's
Personal
a
bias.
prediction I have. Yes. I can try to be like, I hope this doesn't happen, but I mean, it's not out of the question. For the Norris, it felt like it was definitely Quinn Hughes's to lose. Um, but you know, Cale McCarr is now first in points. Um, and they like the people who vote for Norris. They like to give to the guy who's got the most points. Right now, that's Cale McCarr. But I can. They're kind of, I don't know. Quinn Hughes, Cale McCarr. They're both like, as far as they're definitely not two-way defensemen. They're both definitely both offensive. But I'll say let's give it to Quinn Hughes, even though Cale McCarr is ahead points right now. I'll say it goes to Hughes.
Cass.
There's my long-winded answers. Sorry,
The Hart.
the explanation.
I really want to see Elias Pettersson get it. I don't think Vancouver would be where they are right now without the contributions that he has. You have to figure it's an MVP thing. Like, I have Mac 1, Kucherov 2, and Elias Pettersson 3. I really want to see Elias Pettersson get it because Mac and Kucherov are there every single year. You know what I mean? So they're always
Pettersson would
contributing
be
the way
new.
they're always contributing the way they do. It just so happens that McJesus isn't there this year. So going above and beyond this year, I got Elias Pettersson. As far as the Vezina goes, see, that's another one. Like, I have Hellebuck number 1, Demko 2, and then I got Connor Ingram 3.
Can you
Like,
repeat who you had at 2, Cass? I couldn't hear that.
Thatcher Demko.
Demko. Okay.
I mean, the consistency that you'll see over all 3 of my awards is the Canucks. It came out of nowhere this year. It's just the way it is. Norris, I think Quinn Hughes is going to take it. Even if Makar has 10 more points, I think it's Quinn Hughes' award to lose right now. He's been a dynamic playmaker and a big difference this year
Oh yeah.
on the Norris. Just like I've been saying, Makar, you've almost come to expect it. He's not going above and beyond. You know what I mean? So I think I think Noah Dobson should be in the talk for that too, but he's going to be a
Noah
far away
Dobson
third.
been
No.
awesome this year. Great fantasy draft pick for me. Been big happy. Big. That was like kind of a surprising pick when I took him. It's been paid off big time. I like that mention of Dobson. So
Well deserved mention as well.
I should with a new coach that's going to bring the team in and get going.
Ugh.
all right, Jesse. Here's your 3.
So for the Hart, I had McKinnon as number 1. I had Artemi Panarin as number 2 and Nikita Kucherov as number 3. So I think McKinnon's going to win it. I mean, he's up there in points. He's producing really well for the Colorado Avalanche. I think he's a shoo-in for it. For the Vezina, I'm kind of gonna... I think Demko's going to win it. I think he has a really good argument for winning it. He's been lights out for the Vancouver Canucks. I don't think they would be where they are without him. And that's just where I'm at on that one. For number 2, I have Hellebuck in that position. And then I'm going to give my guy Charlie Lindgren a shout out as well at number 3. I think that he's third in the league in goals against average. He is tied for second with Connor Hellebuck at save percentage. He's only got 2 shutouts, but my God, that guy just came out of nowhere all of a sudden. So I just want to give him a little bit of a mention there. And then for defensemen, I do think Quinn Hughes is going to get it. As Cass said, without Quinn Hughes and Thatcher Demko, Vancouver are not going to be where they are at in the standings. I think Cale McCarr is going to be second, and I had Noah Dobson in third as well.
So I feel like with that, we kind of you just mentioned Quinn Hughes and Demko's impact, but Cass, you're saying Pettersson should be considered a big part of the impact for Vancouver. isn't that kind of a
I mean,
pushback
you
against
could
him winning
choose
the
almost
heart? Because
no.
no?
I don't know. It's just like that team. There's so many. Like the whole team's clicking this year.
You
could
could
talk
even
about
argue JT
too.
Miller up
Exactly.
there,
Exactly.
which is
Like
insane. I mean,
hearing
he's
people
got 61 points. He's tied for 4th with Artemi Panarin. JT Miller just came out of left field as well this season.
And for me, it's about the players you don't expect to do what they do. Like Gooch and Mac are expected to be great, whereas Pedersen, yeah, he's a top tier player, but he's on that upper echelon this year. Just like Quinn Hughes, must be a top tier defenseman, but he's just bringing the game to a next level this year.
If you have any comments that you want to make, just let us know in the chat about those predictions for Hart Trophy, Vezina Trophy, Norris Trophy. I think that we all have some really great, solid pickups on that. Amanda, do you have any opinions on who you want to see for those trophies?
Pretty much follow what you guys have. Excuse me. And then Alan in the comments is hardcore campaigning for Demko as well.
Jesse and Cass got him. I'm the one who just went all out.
We got him. We got him.
I'm surprised Alan's not harping on Decord. He would have been last
Decord.
week.
Power rankings time, guys.
Power rankings time. Amanda, I haven't seen the list. Have you sent it anywhere?
It's a secret. No, it's a secret.
She's got to keep. It's a secret. We get to find out it here live tonight.
Exactly.
Alan,
you guys have to find out.
Really quick, Alan is giving all Vancouver Canucks Demko for the Vezina, Hughes for the Norris, and Pedersen for the Hart, which is bizarre, right, Alan? Wouldn't you say?
And like Rick Tocchet for the Jack Adams.
And then Rutherford for GM of the year, right?
There you go. There you go. Just give it all to Vancouver. All right, let's move on.
Let's hear this list.
Power rankings time.
Okay. And so then just a quick reminder for our listeners as to how we come up with this power ranking list. The 5 of us, Ethan, who's not joining us today, sent his list in as well. The 5 of us rank our top 10 teams. Team number 1 gets 10 points, and it goes down from there. And then I average the points, and we get our list. This month, we had 2 teams who were not even a consideration for last month just pop up out of seemingly nowhere, which really won't be a surprise. But for this month, in first place, we have the Canucks, who were one of the ones not on our list, anyone's list last month. Second, we have the Jets. Third, we have the Bruins. Fourth, we have Avalanche. Fifth, we have the Rangers. Sixth, the Panthers. Seventh, the Stars. Eighth, the Oilers, another one not on the list. Ninth, the Knights. 10th, the Flyers.
It almost sounded like you were just going to run down the NHL standings, so I'm glad it took some variation there at the end.
Before we break this down, does anyone have a team on their personal list that was not one of the teams that Amanda listed?
I think there was. Hold on. Let me pull up mine real quick. I should have already pulled it up.
Amanda, can you send that somewhere?
Yeah. Did you mention the Hurricanes in that top 10?
Oh, no, the Hurricanes they were 11th.
Oh, bummer.
Out of everyone.
I had the Hurricanes in there, but I think you mentioned all the other 9 teams I had. As long as the Stars were there. I think I heard Stars.
Yes,
I
there
just
were
want to
7.
know if Ethan had like San Jose Sharks at number 2 this original 6 San Jose Sharks.
The Nashville Predators at number 1, right, Ethan?
His one shocker from his list was that he had the Knights ranked 4th.
He's making up for last time he did it.
I think he has no
like
choice.
The Knights
at
8 or something.
That's where I had Vegas. I had them at 8. And I put Edmonton in there. I put Philly in there again in my top 10. Winnipeg moved up significantly from my last prediction, but well deserved.
Just break it down 1 through 10. Tell us what you got.
So yeah, at number 10, I had Philadelphia. They've made a pretty big impact over the last month, and I think that it's well deserved this time. I know a lot of people, Brett, had some arguments last month. Number 9, Edmonton. Unfortunately, as much as I hate to see it, they are climbing in the standings. They had that really impressive win streak. Are they still on that?
Still going.
They're
It's
still
still
going
going.
with that. Yeah, so well deserved there. At number 8, Vegas Golden Knights. They fell a little bit in my power rankings, but they also fell in the standings. They're dealing with some injuries though, so I think that is expected from them. At number 7, the unfortunate fall from grace for the New York Rangers. I had them at 2nd last month. Number 6, I've got Florida Panthers. Number 5, I've got Dallas Stars. 4, Colorado Avalanche. 3, the Vancouver Canucks. 2, the Boston Bruins. And at number 1, the Winnipeg Jets, who are well deserved for that number 1 spot.
I'm surprised you have Vancouver at 3. I feel like they're guaranteed locked 2. I had them at number 1. I'm kind of surprised you put them out the 2.
I had a really big conundrum with myself on where I needed to put Vancouver and Boston, and so I eventually just locked it in, sent it to Amanda, and I was like, I can't do this anymore because I'll be here forever if I don't send this list to you.
I don't think your list brings any hot takes outside of that, but you still got them 3, so that's not crazy. Your list is somewhat similar to mine, but I've got a couple. There's a couple differences, and I'll go down mine, and it'll say the big shocker for mine is how high I have Edmonton. Okay, so at 10 I also have the Philadelphia Flyers, and 9 I put the Carolina Hurricanes. They've been doing well despite their goaltending issues, like I mentioned already on this episode. Then I've got the Stars at 8. And then I have the Rangers and Panthers, same spot as you. Rangers at 7, Panthers at 6. I would have liked to put Florida higher, but they're on a 4-game losing streak, not looking good. But we also are missing Barkov right now, so that's been playing an impact in that. Anyways, then I've got Colorado at 5, Boston at 4, and then I put Edmonton all the way at 3.
Wow.
Edmonton all the way at 3. Then I've got Winnipeg and Vancouver at 2 and 1. So I've got a top 3 Canadian for power rankings. Edmonton, Winnipeg, Vancouver. But Edmonton,
Gross.
I think Edmonton's going to continue this. They've been clearly the best team in 2024. That's the year we're in, right?
I think so.
Yes. They've been the best team in 2024. They're on, I think it's 12 games now of winning. And even though eventually the streak will end, I think, I don't think they're going to win out the rest of the year. But I think this is the Oilers team for the rest of the year. I think they struggled early. They made that coaching change, and ever since then they've played better. And now they're playing at the top of their potential. And I think that's more what we're going to see out of the Oilers for the rest of the year. So that's why I'm putting them at 3, because of the current run and what I expect them to do the rest of the year.
That coaching change made a really big difference for that team. Huge difference for that team. Cassidy, would you like to go down your list?
Yeah. Like Brett, I got Edmonton at 10.
Okay.
There's still some red flags for me in net. I do like their coaching change, and obviously their main 2 are turning up the heat, but there's still some red flags for me. 9, I got the Flyers. Gosh darn it, they're still there. I don't know what else to say. 8, I got the Knights. I don't see them going anywhere, and they're still somewhat staying in it with all the injuries that they have. And they haven't had their number 1 goalie for a while. 7, I have Dallas. Same 6 with the Rangers. They're just kind of there because, they're just good. I don't know what else to say. They're built solid. This is the grind of the season right now, in the middle of the season. Nothing really to kind of get up for. So it's just the middle of the season where you're just trying to get as many points as you can. Florida, I got 5th. They're just so nasty to play against. I don't know. I obviously see them a lot in the Atlantic Division. They're just in the way Sam Reinhart's playing is just.
Oh my God, he's disgusting, dude. It's ridiculous.
I did get to talk about this. I was trying not to, but
number 4
NHL...
is moving on real quick.
Have fun paying him next year if you can.
I hope we do.
Number 4 is Colorado. I still think Georgiev is overrated, but with McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Kale McCarr on your team, it's kind of hard to take them out of the top 5. 3, I have Boston.
Real quick, going
Go ahead.
back to that, you said Georgiev is overrated. Can you elaborate on
Yeah.
that a little bit?
Overrated.
No, I can. I think he plays in front of an excellent team, and
Mhm.
I remember. I don't think
That's
I
what
really
happened
liked
with Grubauer too.
Correct. That's what happened with Kemper too.
True.
You know what I mean?
True.
Oh,
I understand that. Okay.
That's the Avs effect, you know. Which you might even say, you know, that could be said about Boston and Winnipeg. Like both those teams have pretty decent defenses if you put their goalies in front of another
No,
team.
Hellebuck is
see what happens.
insane. Come on.
He is, but he also plays in front of a good team too, is what I'm saying. So team defense directly affects the numbers on those goalies. Anyway, I have Boston at 3. I watch them every night. I didn't like how they were playing a couple weeks ago. They seemed to turn a corner, and they put up 14 goals in the last 2 games. I mean, that says enough. Winnipeg number 2. They just got Kyle Connor back, and they're still rolling. And Vancouver I wouldn't even had them in the top 15 at the beginning of the season this year, and they're nuts right now.
No one
I have a
expected
feeling they're
Vancouver.
No, I
No
would
one
not be
expected that.
shocked if they win 4 of the main awards this year, coming at the end of the season.
Neither will Allen, right, Allen? Said the same thing.
I think a thing that's. Oh wait, Amanda, you can go to your 10 too. If you want to give us your 10.
You guys also want me to read off Ethan's 10 since he's not
Yeah,
here
so
to
we
read
can
his off.
crap on him because he's not here.
Well, crap
Yeah,
on
let's
him
do
while he's
Ethan's
not
first. Yeah, let's do Ethan's first. Hopefully you're watching Ethan so we can crap on you.
So Ethan in 10th had the Oilers.
Garbage.
9th had the Hurricanes.
Garbage.
8th had the Stars. 7th had the Flyers. 6th had the
7?
Avalanche. 5th had the Rangers. 4th had the Knights. 3rd had Bruins. 2nd Jets. 1st Canucks.
No Panthers.
Hold on. I was gonna say he didn't have the
No
Panthers on
Panthers.
his list. What?
Nope.
Wow.
He kept the Knights in
Crazy.
exchange for the Panthers.
Ethan, you
I put him
suck.
Stars on my list.
I think the Knights on his list are a little too high. Again, I mean, they're going through some really bad injury bug, but I mean, they haven't really been winning games. They did beat the Rangers decisively a couple days ago, and
As long as we had our buddy
Whatever.
on the list, all 4 of them, Gritty for the win.
Gritty the Fool. Gritty the Fool. Aside from that, though, I think that's probably the only hot
You
take
just
that he
need
had.
to
How
switch
could you-
out Vegas and Florida.
Yeah,
I think it's criminal that you don't have Florida on that list.
Ethan, are you listening? I'm going to text you right now. How do you not have Florida on your top 10? Texting you right now. Amanda, you want to do yours?
Yeah, let's hear your list, Amanda.
So mine, I had the Hurricanes 10th. As much as I love my home team,
Bias.
like they're getting there slowly. This is the first time that they've made it on my list. 9th, the Oilers. 8th, the Flyers. Even though they're direct competition to the Canes, I really want to see them do well. Half of that is just my love for Torts as a coach.
I do love Tortorella.
Sexy John.
Perfect. 7th, I had the Stars. 6th, the Panthers. 5th, the Rangers. 4th, Avalanche. 3rd, Bruins. 2nd, Jets. And 1st, Canucks. So no big real shakeups for my list as well.
That's a pretty solid list, I would say. I mean, nothing really too crazy on there that I would indicate being a hot take or anything like that. I just still can't believe that Ethan didn't have the Panthers on his...
He does it for the clicks.
He does. He's clickbaiting. That's why. That's what it is.
Yeah, he wants the conversation.
He did it last month as well when he had Arizona on his list and no one else did.
He had Vegas down at like 8th, right? And they were
9th.
like, all the rest of us had like 2nd. What
Yeah,
are you
ninth
doing?
last month, while everyone else had them like first or second.
The air must be really thin in Texas. I'll tell you that much.
Hey, can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
You can hear you. You can't see you.
All right, that's okay. Don't know what happened there, but okay.
This year has been absolutely wild for the NHL so far. We're only 20 days in, and there's been so much of dramatic shakeup, in my opinion, with like the Rangers on their streak, the Golden Knights on their streak. Vancouver's still killing it. The Kings fell down really, really far off of almost everybody's list because they were fourth on our previous month. So, I mean, what is going on? All of a sudden, there's some sort of major shakeup in the NHL, and we're seeing teams that haven't been performing starting to do well, like the Carolina Hurricanes. Boo.
Well, it's nice to see too, because if you look at the standings from around this time last year, I bet you, like in playoffs position, Vancouver wasn't there. You know what I mean? No, and Flyers weren't there. You know what I mean? It's nice to see some new blood in the top 10 of the NHL. You know,
I'm
obviously,
not honestly.
Winnipeg. No one thought Winnipeg was going to be that good. Everyone thought Boston and Florida was going to take a step back. Edmonton started off complete garbage this year, so it's nice to see new blood in the upper echelon of the league.
I'm not too surprised Los Angeles took that step back. Like just their roster makeup and
Their
their
goaltending's not
goaltending.
good, yeah.
Their
Tim
goaltending was
Talbot has fallen
Talbot
down to
was
earth.
well. Talbot was playing way above his potential, and now he's kind of come back down to the level he kind of was
Should be
expected
at.
to be at.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah.
How much
that was
does Rob Blake regret that Pierre-Luc Dubois trade? And it's only year one.
but I mean Velarde and there's another
follow.
guy.
I follow, yeah.
Have they been? How have they been doing though? I know
Amanda,
this would be a whole nother conversation almost, but I think remember the last time we looked this up, like they were doing okay, right? They weren't doing like whoa insane.
Iafallo has 7 goals and 10 assists in 43 games played.
that's 17.
And who's the other one?
Velarde.
And Velarde is at 11 goals, 9 assists, plus 18 in 25 games played.
Right.
What about Pierre-Luc Dubois now?
E.L. Dubois. E.L. Dubois. I'm pulling it up right now. He is.
So, side note, because you decided to have an accent, Laura couldn't wrap her head around the fact that new Islanders Islanders coach's last name is Waugh instead of Roy. She's like, it should be Patrick
Is he
Roy.
just
I don't
now
get
learning that.
Yeah. So I thought
There's already been Nicholas Waugh in the league. I
know.
forget which team is he on.
Isn't he on
the
Vegas
Canadians.
or Canadians?
There's a Waugh.
That's right.
No, there is a Waugh on Canadians too because they were on tonight against the Bruins. There is one.
So
In LA too. I think
The-
it's Matt
the
Waugh.
Knights.
Anyway,
to circle back on PL Dubois, do Patrick Waugh. He is at 9 goals, 10 assists, 19 points, minus 11 in 42 games played.
so
At least he's
Velarde
enjoying the
played-
beach.
Velarde played 25 games and he's got more points than PLD. Is what you're telling me. Excellent. I love it.
At least he's enjoying the beach.
Yep,
Mm.
and
that paycheck.
clearly getting him off Winnipeg's roster has been a big help for them, and
Yeah.
that's because even though Velarde and
Wheeler,
Iafallo
too.
haven't been producing insane, I know Velarde's numbers are decent, but still it feels like the impact of just him not being there is kind of made the major impact, which is not a good thing for him and for any team that will have him in the future, which looks like it'll just be Los Angeles, and they're gonna just have to eat that contract. No one's taking him on.
I understand PLD can be a really good player. I was just shocked they gave up 2 roster players for him. I'm worried it set back LA's.
He was a third
rebuild
overall
a little
pick,
bit.
so
I know. Line was a 2nd overall pick, and you don't look at him anything special right now either. So
That's because he
both
just
those
keeps getting
players'
hurt.
careers.
yeah.
Ridiculous.
Redonkulous.
Well, that does it for us this week on Top Shelf Dusters. Thank you so much for listening and watching if you were watching on YouTube. If there's anything that you want us to discuss, you can email us at topshelfdusters@gmail.com. Again, that email is topshelfdusters@gmail.com. My name is Jesse.
This is Brett. And hey, one more plug. Don't
Go
forget,
for it.
follow us on X / formerly known as Twitter.
Always
we
known as
we
Twitter.
haven't advertised that too much. Yeah,
We have not. So on Twitter, we are at Top Shelf Dusters. X, Twitter,
that easy.
whatever, at Top Shelf Dusters. Go ahead,
Follow
Brett.
us there. Yeah, but anyways, this was Brett.
This is still Cass.
This is Amanda.
Tyson's going to be really mad you stole his line. Thank you so much for listening. We will catch you next week.
That's why
Peace.
I did it.
Tyson's going to be pissed.
Good.